In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of the Tuesday, November 10, 2020 work session regular remote meeting of the Franklin Township Council was made by the posting on the front doors of the municipal building, posted on the township's website, and electronically transmitted to the officially designated newspapers, indicating that this work session regular remote meeting would take place via WebEx at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, November 10th, 2020.
Thank you. If we could be led by Councilman Chase once again for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll move it, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Something?
And now the invocation by Councilwoman Christopher.
Thanks. As we gather here today as members of the Township Council, we need to be ever mindful of opportunities to render our service to fellow citizens and our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world, not just for ourselves, but for future generations. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Madam Master Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Barson?
Here.
Councilman Chase?
Here.
Councilwoman Francois? Councilman Galtieri?
Here.
Mayor Kramer?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Onijaka? Councilwoman Pruitt?
Here.
Councilman Vasanella?
Here.
Councilman Wright?
Thank you. Item number 5 is commendations and proclamations. The Diwali proclamation, Councilman Ambrasan, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Diwali is one of the most important festivals in India for Hindus as well as lots of other religions. It's celebrated very widely. It's a national holiday. It's a very joyous occasion, and I would like to read the proclamation. Whereas Diwali is a festival of lights during which celebrants light small oil lamps, place them around the home, County of Jersey, do hereby November 14, 2020, as Diwali 2020 in the Township of Franklin, and call upon its residents to observe and celebrate Diwali with various activities and programs to learn about its religious and historical significance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And please note, Deputy Mayor Charles Onijaka has joined us. We are now on to public discussion. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Being no discussion on opening to the public, all in favor of the opening to the public, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We are open to the public, limited to 3 minutes a person. Anyone wishing to speak? Well, actually, I'm sorry, Mr. McQueen, if you could run the public session.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Anybody from the public wishing to speak, if you can please open your chat window and hit the raise hand icon. And to indicate you wish to speak. If you wish to be video, please let me know. Anybody on the phone can hit *3, and that will raise your hand. So we are now open to the public. Let's see. All right. Everybody now? Mr. Mayor, I do not see anybody indicating that they wish to speak at this time.
Mr. Daniel, I see Mr. Danielson, Assemblyman Danielson is there. Can you unmute him and see if he wishes to speak?
Yes, Assemblyman Danielson is unmuted at this time. Do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. That's very kind of you. No, I don't wish to speak. I'm just enjoying following along with the council.
Learning a little bit about government. Very nice.
How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well. Not so much my wife.
Oh, dear.
I'll call you later. Okay. Seeing no one coming up, does anyone like a motion to close?
So moved.
So,
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing the public portion, say aye.
aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public session is closed. Council comments. I shall do this with Mr. Wright first. And, all right.
So if you join as an attendee on that link on the website, if you go into the details of tonight's meeting.
You need to mute yourself.
After Mr. Stewart, Mr. Bassanella, Mr. Chase, Mr. Amberson, and then Mr. Galtieri, and then Deputy Mayor Chapman. We're starting with you, Councilman Wright. Councilman Wright, do you have any council comments you're muted? I'm not hearing anything from him. We'll try to go back to him. Councilwoman Pruitt.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to report out some information from public safety this evening. There were some more promotions in the police department. Sergeants and lieutenants will have their official swearing in on November 30th, followed by the ceremonial swearing in at our council meeting on December 8th. So we'll be able to ceremonially greet our new sergeants and lieutenants. Due to the retirements in the PD, we'll be recruiting for new officers. So if you've seen advertisements recruiting officers, that's why. The Community Relations Bureau will be working with the Franklin Food Bank this year for their Thanksgiving food distribution. So keep an eye out for more information. And just as a public safety reminder, please remember to lock your doors, be it car doors, front doors, all your doors. Make sure you lock them. As well as just the general reminder, we are still very much in a pandemic. Our numbers are increasing. The governor has instituted some restrictions. So just be really mindful that we're still very much in the thick of this. And wash your hands, social distance when you can, wear a mask, and look out for yourself, your loved ones, and your neighbors. And hopefully we'll get out of this situation soon. But just a reminder to all of our residents, please be safe. Please be thoughtful. I know it's really hard, especially since we're moving into the winter months. There are resources if you're struggling with mental health. And, you know, I think the resource page, Bob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the resource page that was created about COVID, that's still operational, right? Where you can get extra help?
Fully operational and updated almost on a daily basis. So,
Perfect.
yes.
Yes, so there is information out there, so please continue to take care of yourself physically as well as emotionally and mentally. It is very difficult. Fatigue is a real thing, but you know, we're all working together to get us through this really probably once in a lifetime situation of COVID-19. So just be safe, be well, and yeah, I will reserve any, I guess, election related comments until that's sorted out. But everyone be well and be safe.
Thank you, Councilman Pruitt. Councilman James Hassan.
I want to echo what Councilman Pruitt just said. Unfortunately, these numbers are getting worse and worse by the day, it seems. Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Anyway, on a much lighter note, I had the privilege of attending a press conference at Patriots Ballpark today. And many of you may know already, but for those who don't, the Yankees, New York Yankees, have decided to pick the Patriots to be a AA farm team or minor league farm team for their baseball team. The Staten Island team and Trenton team that used to be have been are not any longer, and the Somerset Patriots are. So most people live in Franklin and probably know quite a bit about the Patriots. They started in the year 2000, I believe, as part of the Atlantic League. Probably most residents have been there, maybe been there many times. The Patriots Ball Club has been very supportive of nonprofits in Franklin and throughout Somerset County. And today really is a milestone that now they will be put Somerset County on the map. And for those who don't know the geography, we border Bridgewater, and the stadium is, maybe a mile or two from our border, and obviously we're the biggest town in Somerset County. So I feel that our town has a connection. So congratulations to Patriots. It was a great day for Somerset County, a great day for Bridgewater and Franklin, and an even greater day for the Patriots, Somerset Patriots. So just wanted to mention that, a little, what I think, good and inspiring news, and I think it will be helpful for our nonprofits and our businesses in town, which will, I think, benefit by this. And maybe when next time you're watching the Patriots, you'll be watching a future New York Yankee Hall of Famer. So just wanted to mention that. It was a privilege to attend that today. Willie Randolph, Joe Torre, and Sparky Lyle, who some of you may know, baseball fans, were there, along with several others. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have to say, and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Councilman Vassanella. Dr. Professor Councilman Chase.
I don't really have any comments. We didn't have a land use meeting at the end of last month. I'm afraid I'm unable to rejoice at the Patriots becoming a Yankee farm team since I'm a lifelong Red Sox fan.
Sorry, Ted.
And they were formerly the Yankee AA affiliate was the Trenton Thunder. So Trenton's loss is our gain, I guess. So otherwise, stay well.
Thank you. You guys are talking about the game with the stick and the bases, right? We're now moving on to Councilman Ambassador. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On October 27th, I participated in the Human Relations Commission's monthly meeting. We had a very interesting speaker, our Township President, Cheryl Batia, and she came and spoke to us about an organization that she and her daughter actually founded. It's called FLUDA, and their goal is to help the youth of this township to transition to adults, a life of adults. A lot of our youth have issues with the direction career-wise, life-wise. I think the problems have been exaggerated by the shortened school year. So some of the good work that they have come up with, and they've been delivering it to the kids through some outdoor events. And, I think they are educating them to transition to an adult from their youth life, just to keep them educated on, appraised on what's going on in the township, what's going on in the country, in the state. So they are doing some good work. Financial literacy is something that they're teaching the kids, career options, how to get to work and what are the options available for them, and how to become a successful and responsible citizen. I think it's a very good work. It was a very informative program. I think she's also a teacher in our school system. Very nice, very good work. We also, two of the commissioners, as well as myself, participated in a very interesting Zoom meeting with a group from the high school. It is called Junior State of America. These students wanted to know how the township functions, what are our duties. So they seem like a good bunch of kids wanting to learn about politics and the public service. And we had a good discussion how we told them how they can get involved in public service and through some volunteer activities and so on and so forth. And there is the complete count committee was formed, and it was honored to participate in the census process that recently completed. One of the commissioners, I think I reported out in the last meeting, organized a $5,000 donation to our community, our Community Relations Bureau to help our children there in after-school activities. The same group now came back, and they are donating another $5,000 to the Franklin Public Schools, and that is scheduled for next Monday at 3 o'clock at this high school. That donation would go toward the Road to Success program, where some of the youths that require extra help at the school would get additional support. So that's overall. So they have given us $10,000 in the last couple of 3 weeks or so. I'd like to commend and recognize them that maybe once that donation goes through. And finally, one of the HRC junior commissioner was appointed to the Youth Advisory Committee in the new youth center. And that's all I have. And we had a board meeting at the Sewerage Authority. I'm sure Councilman Galtieri would give you an update on that. That's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Galtieri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So fortunately, not much to report from the Sewage Authority meeting. We did one of our construction projects on Hamilton Street is hopefully wrapping up in the next couple of weeks, so that area should return back to a little bit of normalcy as construction vehicles will be leaving the far end of town. Other than that, I have fire prevention coming up this Thursday. So just a reminder, typically it's about a week and a half in, but typically when the clocks fall back or clocks change, it's a good idea to check your smoke detectors and replace your batteries. So keep an eye on, keep that in mind and possibly replace your batteries. The only thing that I have to add is that, as we know, the holiday season is coming upon us. So our neighbors, we have neighbors in need. So if you have the means to help donate to the food bank, they've got an ongoing holiday 2020 campaign with a very high goal that hopefully we can help them to meet. So please consider contributing. And finally, tomorrow is Veterans Day. So thank you to all our veterans, Mr. Mayor, and anybody else on the call that I hopefully am not missing. But thank you for your service, and thank you to those that are continue to serve to keep us safe. And sounds like we'll be highly involved in helping us get through this pandemic at some point, especially those that have the skills to fly and get trucks out. So thank you to those that have given their lives at risk to keep us safe. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, Assemblyman Danielson is still on, and he is a veteran.
Yes, I apologize to the Assemblyman. I forgot also. I forgot he was still on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kimberly Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to all of our servicemen and women that have kept us safe for all these years. We owe you so much gratitude for our country and your service. Also wanted to say that we've been doing food drives over at the Somerset Community Action Program, and we've also been giving out meals to families, and the youth have been helping us do all the food distribution as well. And I'd like to thank all the young people that have been helping us give out to the families that are in need. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Deputy Mayor Charles Angelico.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to congratulate all the winners of last election.
You have to speak up, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, first of all, I want to Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I said, first of all, I want to congratulate the winners in the last election in our county, and also the voters too that came out in mass. And that is very, very encouraging. And I hope next year the turnout will be the same. And at the same time, I want to point out that the rise in this coronavirus is a little concern to most of us. Because the last time it was at the peak, it badly hit us so bad that this time around, at God's grace, we will think, no, it's not going to be up to that point. And we have to be safe this particular time. Thank you, Mayor. This is what I have for it.
Thank you, Councilman. So for my comments, this is a time to come together, to remember how lucky we all are to be Americans. Not red or blue, but Americans. Let me lead by example. I'd like to acknowledge two Republican committee members, Michelle and Robert Peterson, for their actions on Election Day. I ran into them at the Parkside polling location where they were poll watchers. What I witnessed was them acting to ensure citizens were granted their opportunity to vote. The reason this is noteworthy is because the area served by this location is overwhelmingly Democrats. They put individual rights over their political interests. While at times I disagree with the Petersons' political views, I commend them on their patriotism and their integrity. I'd also like to thank Mr. LaCourte for his involvement in that matter and for his part in tomorrow's Memorial Day virtual ceremony. So we are having a virtual ceremony tomorrow. Staff has been very involved in that, and I'd like to thank them for what they're doing. I'd also like to comment on Election Day in a different way. I was ready for a logistical nightmare, and it worked. It ran very, very well, in part to planning by our clerk, Anne-Marie McCarthy, but also, of course, the county's involvement and the citizens' involvement by voting early. It could have been a mess, and I just saw pretty much orderly people coming in and voting and using their rights to select their leaders. Moving on, The library submitted for a grant to build a southern branch for $1.3 million. It turns out that the governor has recommended us to get that grant, and if the legislature passes the bill attached to it, then we should get a $1 million grant to build the library southern branch instead of renting it. That will, in the long run, save money. We will be testing again this Sunday at the Hamilton Street Middle School. I now want to talk about COVID, as I often do. People are getting COVID fatigue, as Councilwoman Pruitt mentioned. It's easy to let down your guard, but things are getting worse out there. I stated this at the beginning, and I want to remind people. Please treat everyone you meet as if they have COVID. And please assume that you have COVID and you could infect anyone you meet. It's what I do every day, all day long. It is tiresome, it is burdensome, and sometimes it weighs heavy on my heart. But I think it is important that if you treat everyone you meet as if they have COVID and that they could infect you and that you might infect them, then we will get through this a lot faster. Please, please consider that. The other thing is Thanksgiving's coming up. My family has decided to have a Zoom Thanksgiving dinner. We're all going to eat at the same time and connect with Zoom and keep ourselves safe that way. Now, I have a 100-year-old mother, and I know that if she were to get the virus, that would be it. So I have extra incentive. But I ask everyone to try to follow that rule. I know some of you won't. I know some of you feel you can't, but please be as careful as possible. When we release a statement for Thanksgiving on how you might add some safety to your Thanksgiving if you are going to eat. Those are my comments, Mr. Manager. Oh wait, before the manager, Mr. Wright back on? No, I don't see him. So, okay, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two upcoming events to report on. One you touched on. The first is tomorrow, beginning at 9 a.m. on the Township website and also on all of the Township social media outlets. There will be a virtual Veterans Day memorial put together by the Recreation Department to include people, among others, the mayor, who participated. And so in honor of all of our veterans, I would suggest that at some point during the day, beginning at 9 a.m., that you take an opportunity, take a moment to look at what our Recreation Department put together in honor of Veterans Day. The other event coming up is Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Township will be hosting a blood drive at the Senior Community Center in the Municipal Complex. We strongly encourage, if you are interested in donating blood, which we hope that you are, that you make a reservation appointment to do so. The information is on our Township website, and I would suggest that anyone interested go to the website. There's a telephone number as well as a link to click on to make an appointment. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We are now on to council discussion items. The first is the proposed 2021 Township Council meeting schedule. Madam Clerk.
Okay, so I have proposed the 2021 council meeting schedule with reorganization being held Tuesday, January 5th at 7 p.m. And then only having one other meeting in January, which would be the 26th. For the most part during the year, the meetings are the second and fourth Tuesdays, with the exception of June, because the primary falls on June 8th. So that's the second Tuesday. I have proposed us meeting on June 10th, which is a Thursday. Budget hearings are proposed to be Monday, February 8th, and Tuesday, February 16th at 7 p.m., and the Board of Health, Tuesday, June 22nd. And that's it.
No Yom Kippur or other?
I checked all those. Passover is March 27th to April 4th. Rosh Hashanah is September 6th to September 8th. Yom Kippur is September 15th to September 16th, and Hanukkah is November 28th to December 6th. So we are clear.
Do you need a vote on this?
Next week, the next meeting, there'll be a resolution with all these dates, if this is good for everybody.
So does anyone have any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So for the reorganization meeting, we're going to go ahead with the January 5th.
Sounds like it.
Okay. No one has any objections to that?
No, the conflicting meeting, we're going to, at the authority, that's typically our meeting night, but we're going to move it up, tentatively move it to earlier in the evening to make sure that we don't have to, I've asked to move it the past 2 years. I think I'd be pushing it a third year. So we'll accommodate around that.
Okay.
The Historic Commission will have to move its meeting, which would normally be the first Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments? Sorry, someone called me. Okay, we are now on to the second one. Scheduling a public hearing on Royal Avenue Park. Mr. Galtieri, would you like to lead our discussion on this? And if everyone else could mute, we're having some feedback.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as we've been talking about for, I guess, over a year now, if not longer, there was a budgeted item in this year's to change the preserved land from at the corner of Willow and New Brunswick to from just trees that have been knocked down by multiple storms dating back to Sandy and onwards, to using the space that's been cleared as a park area and then put in a natural trail, weaving into some of the trees. But in addition to having a public hearing we also need to have a public hearing as we're changing the usage of the property. And either Mr. Warnocker, if you can help me out with the terms, it's from preserved, I guess, to recreation area.
So, Mr. Mayor, why don't I just pick this up here? So, according to the Green Acres regulations in the state of New Jersey, whenever you take an open space property, a property that's been acquired with public funds through an open space trust, which this property has been, whenever there is a change of use going from passive recreation to active recreation, in this particular case, it requires a public hearing. That public hearing needs to be advertised in a number of different ways, including a sign on the property with what the proposed new use is. Those advertising must take place at least 30 days in advance of the public hearing, and then there's a public comment time period of 2 weeks following the public hearing, at which the sign at the location must remain in place. It needs to be advertised in the township's newspaper at least 30 days in advance and 15 days in advance of the public hearing. So this council discussion, the purpose of it is to select a date for that public hearing, which would be held virtually at least 30 days. So giving us time so that we could advertise it at least 30 days in advance of that date.
So, Council, I've spoken to Mr. Vornlocker and Councilman Galtieri regarding this. The only thing that I would add to it is that I'm not sure that Bob said this, is that the public hearing does not have to be at a council meeting. So it could be a public hearing conducted by Mr. Warnlocker or the planner or, so I just wanted to tell council that was an option, because if you do have a council meeting, of course, you're gonna have to have the public hearing, and then you'll have to have a public portion of that meeting also, in addition to the public hearing.
But might I suggest that this be a separate meeting?
No, Mr. Mayor, what the Mr. Raynone is speaking in reference to is that while we generally hold these public hearings, and we have done so for Catalpa, we have done so for Middlebush Park, we did one for a proposed park on Arlington Avenue. We held them with all council members present as a special council meeting. That's not a requirement of the Green Acres. A public hearing is what's required of Green Acres. If council so chose to allow me and staff to hold that public hearing, they would not have an obligation to attend. The past practice has been that we've held it as a special council meeting.
And the only other, and just to kind of further, and the only real requirement is that you have a transcript. You'll have to have a court reporter there to have a transcript that you submit, and it simply becomes part of the record of your to Green Acres. And also for the record, I mean, Green Acres will tell you this technically, it's not really an approval. It's just a hearing, putting the public on notice that there is in fact a change of use, because both of these uses are actually permitted by Green Acres regulation. You're just putting the public on notice that you're actually changing, you know, it's just kind of a technical requirement. So this is not strictly part of an approval process. It's really part of a public notification process.
Right, and what Green Acres does is there's a confirmation process in which they confirm what the proposed use is, conforms with Green Acres regulations.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Mr. Galtieri?
Yeah, so I guess before I get into I just want to clarify to the public that, to reiterate that when you see a sign go up, it's not the town, it's to notice what's actually being designed and proposed for the space. It is not a developer coming in, it's not the town coming in, knocking down the entire trees or anything. You'll see, hopefully from the design that we're showing, is that the intended use is, that then we can discuss at the public hearing, is to utilize the area that's already been naturally cleared, with maybe some exception there. That there might be one or two trees that are still outstanding, but for the most part, the staff has done an exceptional work to try to fit everything in so that it's naturally using the space. With that, as much as I would like to give the residents of the area and the town another park to go to, or to expedite this, it sounds like there's still much work that needs to be done by our staff. So it looks like January would be the earliest time that we could potentially do this. If council, the proposal that we can make, or that I would suggest, is if council would like to be in attendance and hold it as a special council meeting, then the second Tuesday of January, we've just noticed, is free and would be at the, I think would give the staff would give this staff enough time to get everything prepared and then still allow 30 days notice prior to that. However, given the information that our attorney and township manager have now proposed, if council does not, we would rather it's just a public hearing without council there, or majority of council there, then I think that opens up to a wide array of other dates.
And I also want to, there's two other things that actually one other thing that I wanted to say. So this will be a public hearing, and I'm presuming that it's going to be on a WebEx or a Zoom platform. There is not an issue with everybody on council logging in and listening. There's also not an issue with everybody on the council logging in and saying something. It won't be technically a council meeting, but certainly you're all citizens of Franklin, so you have a right to do that. And since it's open to all of the public and it's not advertised as a council meeting for taking any particular action, there would be no issue. So in case council was worried, well, if we didn't do it as a council meeting, we couldn't go, that's not an issue.
So with all that said, Councilman Galtieri, do you want to make a motion or do you want to discuss it first?
I guess I'd like to discuss it first and hear what everybody's, or if that's okay to hear other opinions on whether we want to have it as a true council meeting to let our residents speak to us directly, or if we want to just, if we want the residents to speak in an open forum, but not necessarily directing at the council members. I think that's really the question at hand already here.
So, I just had a question for, I'm sorry, Will, it's out of time to discuss it.
No, I'm done, so thank you.
So I wanted to make sure I understood, and I guess Lou, maybe you can give me a little more clarity. So if we have this meeting where the staff, I guess, kind of runs it, or Mr. Warnlocker, we can be involved, or we can be logged on, and I mean, I assume Will and I mean, Councilman Chase, myself, we're on the land use. We have 4 of us on land use. That we may want to comment because, you know, we've been kicking this around for a while, and obviously Councilman Galtieri has been leading the charge. So it's not an issue if we made comments or answered questions. I just want to make sure where the line is drawn, because I wouldn't, and any council person, of course, to be involved, just to keep the dialogue as productive and substantial as possible if there's residents that are interested and have comments and questions. So I just want to make sure what the boundaries are. But assuming there's some latitude, you know, if everyone else is okay with it, it sounds like it may be interesting to have Mr. Warnlocker and the key staff, because they really are the ones that would, you know a lot of the technical aspects and how it would play out over time.
So this would be, you know, the purpose of this is to give the public the right to comment. My suggestion is that if staff is running the hearing, that staff would answer questions. If all the council people are there and people are asking you questions and you're answering the questions, then it's going to look, you know, an awful lot like a council meeting. I would be concerned about that, but I don't, you know, there's no issue. Obviously, Mr. Warnlocker and staff will be there to run the hearing, or whoever runs the hearing. But really, the purpose of this is to let the public be heard. And the other part about it is that there is also a provision in the rules for, and that's why they keep the record open for a period of time. You can also solicit written comments from either council members or from the public also.
I'm fine with either way.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. So, are we discussing this because this potentially could be a virtual meeting, and therefore we have different options? Because in the past, we've always had public hearings when all council was present for these type of events. So is that why we're considering one version versus the other, because it's virtual?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I maybe I should be asking Lou or no.
Well, I think so. I'm just, it just so happened, once again, I got a call from Will and I got a call from Mr. Warnlocker. I just happened to have done one of these in September, and I just told them, I just went through the steps as to what they are. I'm not proposing either way. I'm just telling the council that if you do it as a council meeting, you do it as a council meeting, or you don't have to do it as a council meeting. I'm not proposing either, and I don't necessarily know that this is driven particularly by the fact that it's on this kind of platform. I just laid out the options.
Okay.
So I'm not suggesting either way is better.
Okay.
Councilwoman, if I could just address it quickly. You are correct. I mean, my very first change of use hearing was held before I became the township manager. I was special projects manager at the time, and it was for Middlebush Park. One of the things that this council has done in the past, and that's why I originally put this down as a discussion item as a special council meeting, is that decisions have been made by council as to whether or not they wish to pursue the change in use of a particular piece of property, or the scope of the change of use based on that hearing and based on the input of the public at that special meeting. That would then require a special council meeting as opposed to the type of public hearing that I would run.
Okay. Well, I think, I'll just speak for myself. I would like to hear from the public and be a part of that hearing as well. I think it's important to do that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyone else wish to speak? I completely agree with the councilwoman. This is the way we've always done it. We should be there to take the kudos or the negative comments and hear them and be able to justify why we're thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no problem if we take action there. Maybe it will be too early. I don't know about all the logistics of doing it. It might be too early to take action. But I'll let staff decide whether it would be appropriate then to do it. Anyone else wish to comment?
So, I guess my question would be, because either way, either option that Mr. Raynon presented, we'll still be able to listen and hear people's input, but are you, Mayor and Councilwoman Francois, saying that you would prefer to make it more of an official council-led meeting?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think when you think about, this is before you got on the council, Councilwoman Pruitt, but anytime we do these kinds of land use rollouts, we get a lot of interesting activity and interest and engagement with the community. So it's always nice to hear from the community to see what their thoughts are for something like this. It's a big deal for them.
Yeah, I guess that was going to be my next question. Like, the precedent, has it always been, it's been a council meeting?
Yes.
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 Will? Councilman Will?
Yes.
What exactly do you want from this? Because I think I'm on your page, but I want to make sure that I have you correctly. And I'm sorry about dropping in and dropping out. My connection is really bad. So that's why I've been in and out. But Councilman Will, would you explain that again?
So again, I want to make sure that we do this as transparent as possible. So I was curious what to hear from other council members, what's your opinion, and I wasn't aware of the two options prior to this call, so that's why I want to make sure that we do this the right way. My intent is to try to keep moving this along, even in a COVID world, so that we can get recreation to our residents in a timely manner in certain areas of town. So my intent was to follow what we've done in normal practice of have it as a special council meeting. Just hearing the other, I'd rather have an open discussion to see if there's an alternative, not to put fellow council members on the spot. It's just to talk about the options available on the table. Well, my proposed recommendation would be for us to have a special council meeting on that, possibly on that second Tuesday of January, since we would normally have a council meeting that night. It just happens that we're moving our normal meeting up a week because of reorganization. So that is what I'm proposing, so that we can keep everything going and also still interact with the public and answer questions. And what I would encourage the public to do is look at the board that goes up. It's going to, from my understanding, it's a pretty large sign that's going to go up, a relatively large sign that will show that to ask questions, and feel free to ask them in advance, because we could potentially resolve any concerns in the meantime prior to that, but also for the public to come out and talk with us.
So I'm going to take that as a motion for a special council meeting on January 12th for this item.
I would like to second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Just wondering, I'm sorry.
So, Councilman Chase.
The one difference I would see between having a special council meeting and just a public hearing is we have to have a separate public session for the public to speak on anything, just because that's a requirement of a council meeting. We just have a little more procedure to go through for a special council meeting. But I suppose we can do that. The other comment I'd have is I would assume that the plans that have been drawn up would be shown And in addition, I would suggest a photograph of the present state of the property to show people how many trees are down already.
Councilman, that's a good suggestion. I think that the presentation will be kind of akin to what happens at I'm assuming it's happening at our planning and zoning board meeting. We should be able to share the plan, because one of the requirements of the new DCA regulations is if you're going to refer to some kind of visual, that you have to let the public be able to see it. And it obviously should all be on our website too. And there should be in the notice of the meeting, a link to the website where people can see it, as well as see it when they're looking at the meeting.
All right, so, and so just to go, I'm cheating a little bit because I do have access to the regulations. So the notices, so the public notice in the township newspaper requires all of those things to be done. It requires the graphic as well as the verbiage on the change of use. The plans need to be available to the public at the municipal building. Obviously, we're open by appointment only, so they would have to make an appointment to come in and get the plans. The plans are also available on the website, and the plans are actually posted as part of the sign on the site itself.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, one last comment that I would like to make is that while the intent is to build out the park fully, we are, as a council, very mindful of finances right now. So there's one portion that we can build out, let's say the walking path, and do a little bit of clearing to prep the land. And if there are concerns about finances, we can do a second phase where then the play area, the intended play area is then built out. So this is not to say that it's 100%. This is to give us the opportunity to consider and hear what the public feels about something going in there. That does not mean that 100% it's going to be built right after that. It's there's still many other steps to go after that. So this is more to keep the process moving along.
Just a quick comment. Question. Yeah, so it sounds like, and Lou, thank you for clarifying it, because it sounds like there's several of us that want to be able to engage with the public, and that it best off being structured as a special council meeting. So, and thanks, Ted, for mentioning that, because that's what I was wondering, if we can get out all the visuals, because this really is transparent. We're eager for feedback. And the only question I have is, when people see the map, the visuals of what is being kicked around and proposed, if they have questions, comments, should we and or staff engage prior to the meeting to give clarification or respond at all, or just let people develop their ideas and their thoughts and bring it to the meeting? Just want to be structurally, procedurally correct.
So the answer to that, Councilman, is that questions or comments can be submitted in writing, like they can be for any public meeting that's done virtually. So they should be encouraged to submit their questions in writing if they can't attend the meeting. Otherwise, they should submit them by attending the meeting.
Okay. So
that everyone can share in the question and answer process that these public hearings, that's the purpose.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I think unless anyone has any other comments, we could vote on this. Would this be by acclamation, Madam Clerk? So all in favor of the motion, which is a public hearing on January 12th, which will be of a special council meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Yay. Right, we're on to item number 10, approval of the minutes. I present the following minutes of the Township Council for approval. Township Council work session, regular meeting of October 17th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion, any corrections?
Did you say 17th?
27.
I said 17th, it was it the 7th?
27.
27th.
I was looking at the agenda, which says 27.
I was looking at my script, which says 17. Okay, 27. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Embarrasson?
Yes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
You're muted.
Raise your hand if you're voting yes. Carl, either unmute or raise your hand if you're voting yes.
Yes.
Thank you. It's time to pay the bills in the warrants of the amount of $1,753,598.50 on November 10th, 2020 are presented to the Township Council for payment. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anyone want to poll on item, have a question on it? Hearing and seeing none, Madam Clerk?
Councilman Embarrasson?
Yes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Okay, we are now on to public hearings and adoptions on second reading. The second reading is where we vote to pass or not pass an ordinance. We have one ordinance, ordinance 4334-20, amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 180, fees, Article, will everyone please mute? Fees, Article 1, Public Records, Section 180-3, available from the engineer. Change fee from site plans to $9 per sheet. He's presented the public hearing and final adoption. Public hearing has been noticed as required. We have a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of opening to the public, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. We are open to the public. Mr. McQueen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Anybody from the public wishing to speak that's on the computer, we ask that you open the chat window, the raised hand feature to indicate you would like to speak. Phone, if you would hit *3, that will indicate you would like to speak. Mr. Mayor, I see nobody indicating they wish to speak on this ordinance.
Seeing no one coming forward to speak, Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to close the public portion of the hearing on this order.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of closing public discussion, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Public discussion is closed. Do we have a motion on the item?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So the item is basically, rather than $9 for site plans, it's $9 per sheet if there are multiple sheets. This is not likely to affect a homeowner. These are for commercial site plans in general. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Embarrasson?
Yes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Oni Jaka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
So now we're going to have a first reading, which is basically an introduction to the public that we are going to eventually, if it passes first reading, have a vote on an ordinance. This is the most momentous ordinance I have ever seen. It is an ordinance 4335-20, ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of Franklin, County of Somerset, State of New Jersey, more particularly Chapter 226, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 226-17, vehicles designated weight excluded from certain streets change, here's the important part, change Myrtle Ave to Myrtle Street. Foregoing ordinance is presented to the Township Council for adoption on first reading, posting and publication in accordance with law, and public hearing and final adoption at a virtual meeting of the Township Council to be held via WebEx on Tuesday, November 24th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Seconded.
So what this is in our books, it's called Myrtle Ave, but on the street itself, and for everyone who lives there, it's called Myrtle Street. And we are now going to make our books match reality. Any other discussion?
Somebody beat a rat because of this?
The manager can contain himself.
So I refuse to answer on the grounds that I may incriminate myself, Councilman Chase. That was this discussion I had earlier this evening with the mayor. I don't know. It came from the police department. Certainly there are technical differences between a Myrtle Avenue and Myrtle Street as it is applied in the law. So we'll just let the police department make the correction and move on.
Mr. Ramon, I'd like a comment from you on this. Hearing no comment, any other comments? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Parson?
Yes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Oni Chaka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
We're now on to the consent agenda. Items A through J is listed on the consent agenda. The motion of this meeting are presented to the Township Council for adoption. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone would like to pull an item or discuss an item? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Barrison?
Yes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Oni Chaka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
Yes.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
Resolutions to be voted on separately. Resolution 20-371, extend competitive contract. Do we have a motion on this item?
So moved.
And second,
Second.
any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Barrison?
Yes.
Councilman Chase?
Yes.
Councilwoman Francois?
Yes.
Councilman Galtieri?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Oni Chaka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pruitt?
Yes.
Councilman Vasanella?
As I am a volunteer board member of the organization, I will abstain from voting.
Councilman Wright?
Yes.
And that's why we had it on separately. On to all business, 2020 boards, committees, commissions, vacancies. Do we have any nominations? Is there a nomination for youth council?
Come on, who was supposed to do this? I nominate her, but I can't remember the name.
We had someone,
I believe Councilman Wright was supposed to nominate someone.
it was Miss Jackson.
Miss Jackson is interested.
Madam Clerk, she submitted just 2 days ago. Do you happen to be able to pull up quickly?
Hold on.
Leadership, yes, here it is. It's Katina Blackman Jackson. And is that who you're nominating, Mr. Wright? or Mr. Chase? Mr. Chase,
Yeah,
is that who you're nominating?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Which one?
Katina Blackman Jackson. For the, FYI, wasn't it? Kimberly, you had a comment as to which service you thought she'd be best for.
Do we have an opening on both? I know one of them is open-ended.
I thought that you had sent an email to Anne Marie asking her if there was a slot open on the Youth Services Commission.
Yeah.
I never saw an email response on that.
There was a slot open on that and FYI.
Yeah, so the FYI, they're not meeting now, but certainly we could nominate her for Franklin Youth Initiative. That's open-ended.
Oh,
I asked her.
they're actually both open-ended. Both of them have an unlimited participation. So we're going to take. Okay.
Okay, well, I would like to nominate her for the Franklin Youth Initiative.
Well-oiled government. Excellent. Any other nominations for the position? Hearing none, by acclamation, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion is carried, and I've lost my script. 1 second. Here we go. Any other nominations for other committees? Hearing none. Yes, sir.
Before we close out, I just want to apologize. Couldn't get the video and the microphone all to work at the same time. But I think I have my problem solved now.
That's great. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Oh, the irony.
It's been a tough year.
Opposed say nay. Adjourn. Be well, Franklin.